Hello everyone, welcome to Good Bad Score. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Collin.
And today, as we await for the highly anticipated Christopher Nolan movie, we are going to rank every single one of Christopher Nolan's movies. So, let's start it off. So, with number 10, we have Following. Now, Following was Christopher Nolan's very first movie ever made, but all said and done, this movie is boring and it is absolutely my least favorite and is the reason why it's low on this list. When you're watching Following, I don't really care about the characters. I have no clue what's going on, and the reason why I don't know what's going on is because I don't care about it. It's a very strange, unusual movie, and the only thing I will say that I will take away from Following when you watch it is just how much Christopher Nolan has improved from that movie till now, and how much he has involved in terms of his storytelling and of course the budget as well.
Well, now going off of his first film, number 9 is going to be his latest film prior to Tenet, Dunkirk, the World War II epic where the storyline is in 3 different parts between 1 hour, 1 day, and 1 week. Along with Following, where Following's a movie where you just you see it once, appreciate it, and call it a day. Dunkirk is the same way. While it is a technical marvel, how it's done, it's very intense, especially on the IMAX screen. It is mind-blowing, the cinematography, the effects in that. However, there's not many likable characters aside from your typical soldiers trying to survive. While Dunkirk is an impressive film, it's not really a rewatchable one.
At number 8, we have Insomnia. Now, Insomnia to me is Christopher Nolan's improvement from his earlier works, and what I really enjoy most about this movie is the performances of Al Pacino and Robin Williams. The two of them together really carry this movie from start to finish, and I like that it's a psychological thriller, but it's very different and unusual, which I like. It brings some new twists to its narrative elements, but I think one of the problems with Insomnia, which is why we ranked it lower, is that there are moments where we're watching this movie that can just feel boring and slow at times, where it just loses interest in the movie.
Going on to number 7 is Christopher Nolan's second film, Memento. Memento has a very ambitious way of telling its story to where every scene is told in reverse order. And as the beginning of the movie is the end of the story, as you get to the end of the movie, the beginning of the story, it all comes together. It's the first time where you see Nolan really be creative and intertwining his creative storytelling. The movie stars Guy Pearce as this detective who has a brain injury where every couple hours his memory resets. The entire movie is told in reverse chronological order, with the end of the story at the beginning and the beginning of the story at the end. This is the first time where you see Christopher Nolan kind of play with the expectations of storytelling. While it's definitely one of his first big Hollywood films, it has some problems with it. He's really not the legend that he's become in his recent films. Memento is still a very important movie to consider when looking at his filmography.
At number 6, we have The Prestige. Now, The Prestige is Christopher Nolan's first time period movie, and it's also another thriller. But what I love about this type of thriller that he does is that it's another different type of thriller. It's a thriller that involves magicians. You have these 2 magicians played by Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, and these 2 guys are just crazy ambitious of trying to find the most unique, different tricks that are dangerous, and we see these guys just go to the edge. And what Christopher Nolan does again is that he keeps you engaged. You're on the edge of your seat just watching it to see where it's all gonna go down. And what I love about this movie too, it kind of gets you very fascinated in the magician business of how these magicians work behind the scenes and how they come up with all these tricks.
Coming in at number 5 is Christopher Nolan's most intellectual grand space epic, Interstellar. The film stars Matthew McConaughey as a former astronaut, now farmer, trying to find the new civilization in the universe for all of mankind to live after destroying the Earth with pollution, the sandstorms. Right now, Interstellar is surprisingly a lot more topical than it was back in the day, with how it's pretty much the end of the world with the coronavirus, what we're going through. It's so funny to see how a movie that came out 6 years ago, how much we can relate to it now with how the school systems are doing, how we are adapting as a society. And moving forward, as it gets into space, it is definitely the modern day version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. While I don't think the movie holds up from begin to end, while I think the ending gets a little too complex for my liking, Interstellar is definitely one of the most visually stunning space movies you could ever see.
At number 4, we have Batman Begins. This was the first Christopher Nolan movie that I ever watched. This was the first time I was being introduced to Christopher Nolan. Didn't really know who he was till I watched this movie. What I love about Batman Begins, though, this is a strong origin story about the Caped Crusader. It's an emotional movie too. You're on this emotional journey with Bruce Wayne from when he was a kid to his parents being murdered in cold blood to learning about criminals and being trained to become Batman himself. And he's trying to learn of what's right and what's wrong. What is the meaning of true justice? And, you know, we are just so invested in this character. And Christian Bale, of course, to me, is the best Batman ever. But one can argue saying that these other Batmans that have played him, such as Keaton, are better. But Christian Bale is really good. He brings a new take on Batman, a much more darker and gritty character.
Okay, going into number 3, as we just had the beginning of Batman's journey, we're going into The Dark Knight Rises. Now, this is a movie that had a lot of hype going into it, especially after its predecessor's big success. And for the most part, it delivers on nearly every single aspect. I think it is a great conclusion to the Dark Knight trilogy. Just going off Batman, the things that were set up in Batman Begins are paid off in The Dark Knight Rises. I think Tom Hardy as Bane is one of the most iconic movie villains in recent history, and it is a perfect send-off to the trilogy that kind of kickstarts this superhero craze we have right now, while taking every single bit of it seriously and bringing the Caped Crusader down to earth and realistic.
At number 2, we have Inception. It is so crazy that this movie was made 10 years ago now, and it still holds up well to this day. Besides the Dark Knight trilogy, if I had to pick any other Christopher Nolan movie besides that, it would probably be Inception. This movie is freaking mind-blowing. The visual effects are amazing, but it has an incredible story. I mean, just what an incredible mind does Christopher Nolan have. You take a story of these group of guys, these group of thieves who find a way to steal things through dreams. And it is incredible how it's done. It's just stunning to look at. It has a terrific cast by Leonardo DiCaprio, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Tom Hardy, and many more. This movie was even nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture, which some can argue should have won that year. But this movie, though, is ambitious. It's just a really unique thriller. It's intense. The music by Hans Zimmer is terrific. He probably creates some of the best song pieces in cinema. What makes Inception so great is the ambitious ending, where it's just a total cliffhanger and the audience are left deciding what state was the character in. And that's what makes movies like Inception great. It gets people talking and it makes people watch the movie over and over and over and over again to come up with theories and assumptions of what do we believe happened at that final moment in Inception.
And at number 1, a lot of you could probably guess it, is The Dark Knight. This is one, if not the greatest superhero movie of all time. Not only does the film continue the story from Batman Begins, but it also stands on its own as a very great vigilante movie. And you can't talk about The Dark Knight without Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker, the best movie villain I've ever seen. This is it. This movie goes down in infamy from the Joker portrayal. I don't think it could ever be topped. The Dark Knight has a special place in my heart as the movie that kind of kickstart my love for cinema and especially superhero movies.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with you, Collin. The Dark Knight is the film that made me love movies. It kind of introduced me to the world of movies and to really appreciate not only by the movie itself, but by the creative team, where the writing and of course the directing by Christopher Nolan. And Heath Ledger's performance is amazing. It's an inspiring performance for, I think, for any young actor out there. And I would argue that this is probably the best movie performances in the 21st century. It is just really good. The writing for that character was amazing. And I think that this movie is very relatable to what's happening today, with chaos happening all over around the country, around the world, with a lot that's been going on in recently. I love that this movie is dark, it's suspenseful, it's a different type of comic book movie I've ever seen, and one can argue that this isn't a superhero movie because it doesn't feel like it. It's very cinematic, it's got drama, it's got emotional elements to it, but it has some really awesome, fantastic action sequences as well. I love the truck chase scene where the truck flips. That's a cool moment. And of course, I love the interrogation scene with Batman and Joker. That to me is a scene that any Batman fan could ask for. Having the villain and the hero have this interrogation and this talk, it's a really great scene. But the whole movie in general is amazing. It's personally my favorite movie of all time, still is. And I don't think nothing could ever beat that. And this is absolutely Christopher Nolan's best movie to this date. This movie, I think, really brought his career up a whole nother level. And I think it got people's attention about who Christopher Nolan is. And I think since then, that is why so many people have gone to see his recent movies, because of that trilogy.
While it's a personal thing, I think a lot of people can agree The Dark Knight is the best Christopher Nolan movie he's ever made.
So what do you all think of our rankings? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? What do you think is the best Christopher Nolan movie? And what is your least favorite Christopher Nolan movie? So that concludes our episode of Good Bad Scar. Please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. And be sure to comment down below. Let us know. And as always, I am Andrew.
And I'm Collin.
And where do you think Tenet will rank in all of the Christopher Nolan's movies? Do you think it's going to be dead last? Do you think it's going to be in the middle? Or could it be the best Christopher Nolan movie of all? We don't know. We'll have to find out.